Hello from Marine Money. I'm Jonathan Shear, and this is our Funders and Founders series, a series dedicated to investors, ship owners, and founders of startups within the maritime industry. Today, we are going to be discussing maritime startup investment with Marina Hadjipateras, general partner and founder of TMV, a VC who invests in purposeful companies in the logistics and sustainable space, among a few others. Our discussion will center around the startup landscape as well as TMV's prospects for the future. So welcome, Marina.
Hi, John. Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, why don't we kick off the conversation by you telling us a little bit about your company and what it does? And if you could give us a little history of the fund and what distinguishes you as a source of funds, that would be fantastic.
Sure thing, John. So I run a fund called TMV. We're an early stage venture capital fund. I run it with my co-founder and fellow GP, Soraya Darabi. We started in 2017, and what we do is we invest in legacy industries that are due for innovation. We're on our third fund right now. We have a little over 200 million under management. We've invested in over 65 portfolio companies, and we invest in three different categories: healthcare, supply chain logistics and transportation, which is my beat, and the future of work. We go in at the seed, pre-seed, and Series A stages, and our check sizes range from about 500,000 to 3.5 million. And what we really like to do is work with founders from an early stage. We have an amazing go-to-market team that can help with anything from graphics to PR to content and follow-on capital. We ourselves are experts within our own industries and can help with different partnerships. And we also have many LPs, over 150 LPs, from corporations to foundations to ultra high net worths to entrepreneurs who would like to be strategic and help our companies when the time is right, too. So we're sort of an all in house go to market fund.
Amazing, amazing. That's a lot to offer startups, which I'm sure accelerates their growth. So that's amazing. One of the things that I saw when I was looking up TMV was your investment criteria. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because I saw one thing that was super interesting to me was that the purpose-led aspect of your investment criteria, and I thought that was an interesting aspect.
Yeah, I think that what we believe, the saying that we have at TMV, is that good people can create extraordinary outcomes, and the founders that we're looking at are mission driven, and they are building companies that are changing the world for the better in one way or another, whether it's making it more efficient, more sustainable, providing greater access to care. All of those things are really important to us. So the founder is just as important, if not more than what they're actually building, because we go in so early that that relationship that we form and the partnership that we have with the founder and what their mission and passion is and what they're building is something that we think is very important.
Right, and there's been a lot of discussion recently. I know that when you first started this movement of investing in purpose-led companies, it has now become like a kind of a fully fledged kind of way of approaching business. And it's amazing to see how these purpose-led companies are starting to really drive and often like beat traditional organizations that are just focusing on the bottom line. So I think that you guys are hit. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say I don't think there's like a sort of difference between a purpose-led company and a company that can be profitable now.
Right.
They're one in the same.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at profitable companies and companies that can scale, and customers and investors and people who are stakeholders within that company are really looking for purpose to help them and to help them scale. And you'll see that on the main page of most large corporations now. It's
Right. Yeah.
Why are you relevant, and how are you doing good in the world as a company?
Purpose has gone mainstream. Right. So that's amazing. So kind of bridging off of that, you recently closed a fund, or I think it's a rolling fund. But can you tell us a little bit about that? And has the focus of the fund changed at all? And maybe something on your investors and maybe their ambitions.
Sure. So we are on our third fund right now, not closed yet, but we are investing out of that fund. And we're welcoming in new investors, and all of our existing investors have actually doubled down. We're now an institutional fund, and so we're very proud to have different banks in the fund, like Bank of America, JP Morgan, Synchrony Bank. We've got various corporations like NextEra Energy. Lines came into the fund, which was fantastic. Yeah, and some entrepreneurs and ultra high net worth individuals, among others. And so we're making new investments out of that fund, and the thesis has largely stayed the same, which again is just to invest in legacy industries that are overdue for change. And to us, those are industries that are largely recession proof in many ways. I mean, post pandemic, they're in more need than ever. If you think about supply chain and healthcare, um, and future of work. And so we don't really like to invest in trends. We like to invest in companies that are sticking around for a long time and need some innovation.
Right. Yeah. Legacy industries in need of innovation is a nice, pithy way of kind of encapsulating that. I like
Yeah.
that. All right. Well, then let's talk about them. Like, you recently made some new logistic and maritime startup investments. Can you tell us about them and what made them so appealing to you?
Definitely. So we're really happy to have made 4 new investments out of Fund 3. Um, I'll detail a few of them. One is called Trackstar, which is our first investment out of the fund, and it's a universal API for warehouse management systems. This company and those founders were introduced to us by Maersk. They're superb. They're growing like a weed, and they're incredibly sticky. So once they're embedded within a system, it's it's very hard to take them out. There's hardly any churn, and I think they're really transforming the way in which WMSs speak to each other. Then there's Secro, which is digitizing bills of lading, which we've been an investor with for now about a year or so. And I mean, this is a long standing kind of problem, I would say, that there's still paper being used to transfer documents and to write bills of lading, and so the timing is right. The UK, Singapore, France have all jumped on board in terms of regulations, and so I think this incredibly strong company, and really excited to watch this one grow and to have joined the journey with them. And the last one I'll say is a company called Signal, which is based out of the UK, which focuses on customer behavior and different changes in customer behavior that can ultimately help reduce emissions, whether it's on ships, on airplanes, rail, and they're starting in the maritime industry. So very excited about Signal as well. That's 3 to name a few.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I guess when you start to think of these legacy processes, it's just like, how can the digitization of them become, you know, I guess, easily implemented amongst the different companies that need to do them day in and day out. I mean, do you
Yeah.
find that the behavior of getting those softwares implemented and like take it like adopted is like a major hurdle, or is it something that has kind of been dying to happen with when you think of the
No,
end
that's
user?
a good thing. Yeah, I mean, to your point, I think that is the one of the biggest hurdles with investing in supply chain, maritime, logistics. In other industries, everybody can't wait to try out new software, new platforms. In this industry, and in our industry, I'd hesitate to say, but it's true. It's where my background lies. There's a little bit of pushback sometimes because things are working and maybe not as efficiently or as fast, but they're sort of like you're operating a company and you've got things happening the way they have for so incredibly long that I think that getting the different companies to adopt and to even pilot um, different forms of technology is getting easier, and they're embracing innovation, but it takes time, and it takes a little bit more time. And so a fund like ours understands that, and we also have the connections and the partnerships to be able to help make that time a little bit shorter. And so that's why I'm so excited about partnering with the companies that we're partnering with, because we strategically can work together to make things go a little bit faster. But you don't want them to go too fast to the point where you're not thoughtfully going to adopt for a long period of time, because we want this change to be
Sustained, right?
sustained.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. No, that's fantastic. I mean, I guess if we were to take, just talking about like how you're able to help these organizations pilot and get into businesses, that's a real benefit that you bring to your portfolio companies. But if you look at the wider landscape of maritime startups, not everyone is as fortunate as having you guys as their investor. And we've actually seen a lot of market consolidation that has happened over the last couple of years. Do you have any point? What's your point of view on that? Like, what's your sense of like where that's going? What has caused it? Any insight into that would be super helpful.
Yeah, I think with regards to market consolidation and just, I think there are different companies that are working towards different outcomes. And so, like, we're looking as a VC fund, we are looking for companies that can scale, can take market share, can really be big players within the market, can often verticalize into different industries, and that's who we are. But as someone who comes from shipping, I appreciate that there are some companies that are making things more efficient, and smaller acquisition or partnership or consolidation is better for the industry in some instances than them sort of going out and scaling themselves. I think it's really it depends specifically on the companies that we're looking at.
Right. Okay. And I guess, at Marine Money, we like to kind of have an angle on the decarbonization / ESG side of the industry, which is, I would say, something that's kind of had a major impact on, day-to-day operations. How does that play into TMV's investment criteria, or is there opportunities that you see that, we as a marketplace should be paying attention to, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely look at a lot of companies and founders that are working on decarbonization. Some of it is hardware, and we don't invest in hardware. And so with that, I will introduce them to Lomar Labs, which specifically looks at hardware, focusing in large part on decarbonization in many senses. And but we do look at sustainability in all forms for the supply chain industry. Signal is an example of an investment that we made in that sector. That could
Got it.
be future of work and sustainability and logistics all in one. So
Trifecta.
trifecta. So I see a lot. I don't know if this will air before or after Posidonia, but we are hosting our first with the Captain's Table, Signal Ventures, and many others, which will be named sort of in a release that's coming out. But we're hosting our first demo day at Posidonia,
Oh,
which is
fantastic.
really cool. And so one of the categories is decarbonization, and then another is efficiency, another is crewing. It's a really important topic, and I think that there's a lot of founders doing some really innovative things out there to help move the industry forward in that sense.
That's great. And unfortunately, I think that we've come to, it flies by, but I think we've come towards the end of our time. Is there anything else that you wanted to leave the audience with, or I guess with any closing remarks?
No, John, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on today. And if there are any founders that are building things in the logistics, supply chain, and transportation industry, come talk to me. We are so excited to partner and work with you.
Great. Well, that's all for today's episode. Thank you again, Marina, for coming on the show and discussing with us TMV's success, strategies, and scope for future investment.
Thank you.
Thank you to our audience for tuning in, and our sponsor, High Tide Foundation, for making this series possible. Be sure to tune into our next episode, which will be airing in the coming month. And you can catch up with our previous episodes available on our website or on Spotify. Thank you all.